Exodus chapter 12. And let's look at about verse 14. Now, it's something we looked at yesterday, man, about he said he'll bring every work into judgment. So just keep that in mind. Exodus 12 and 11, actually. He said, and thus you shall eat it with your loins girded and your shoes on your feet and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is Yahuwah's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Mizraim this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Mizraim I will execute judgment. I am Yahuwah. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are. And when I shall see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mizraim. And this day shall be unto you a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. So he states that this blood going to be a token. Come over here and look at something in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, by verse 10. About verse 11. Now remember, he say the blood is for a token, and that he calls it the Passover, that the judgment won't be executed. Let's look what he say. And such were some of you, but ye are washed, but ye are sanctified, but ye are justified in the name of the Master Yahushua and the Ruach of our Elohim. Hold on. Look at Isaiah chapter 1. He say washed. We didn't read all the transgressions that were mentioned in there because y'all know about it. No effeminate, no abuser with themselves of mankind, no fornicator, no extortioner, no covetous man will enter into the kingdom of Elohim. Let no man deceive you. But look at Isaiah chapter 1 and about verse 16. He says, wash ye, make you clean. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. Cease to do evil. Learn to do well. Seek judgment. Relieve the oppressed. Judge the fatherless. Plead for the widow. Lizzie, stop. Come now, let us reason together. When you talking about reason together, that's sit down and go over a matter. Saith Yahuwah, though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be white as snow. And though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. If you be willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be devoured with the sword, for the mouth of Yahuwah hath spoken it. So when he sit back and he looking at it, when he say they'll be washed, wash you, make you clean. Let's come back to 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 11. You see that we were washed and set apart by the blood of the Lamb. It's the blood. That Passover lamb is what sanctified us and set us apart, that judgment wouldn't rest upon us. Now let's look at verse 12 though, in the same 1 Corinthians chapter 6. He say, all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. Meats for the belly, belly for the meats, but Elohim shall destroy both it and them. Now the body is not for fornication, but for the master, and the master for the body. And Elohim have both raised up the master, and will also raise up us by his own power. Now, he raised us up out of Mizraim by his own power. Now, when you sit back and look at it, that's why he said he's going to bring judgment upon all the gods of Mizraim, because we were actually committing fornication with these gods. You know what I'm saying? So you have a natural fornication, you have a spiritual fornication. When you're sitting back and you land with other gods. That's why we sat back and did that. That's why he sat back and told you to leave all them gods you served in Egypt on the other side of the flood. Don't bring that over here with you. So what we're looking at is that the name of Mashiach, or the blood, will be a token upon your houses. He'll pass over you. He will not destroy you. As we looked at yesterday, he has not appointed us to wrath, but by salvation, by Yahushua HaMashiach. So let's look at Genesis chapter 12. Sit down somewhere. Genesis 12 and 1. No, we don't want 12 and 1. It's a little too high. 12 and 9. Elizabeth. And Abram journeyed, going on still forward, going on still toward the south. And there was a famine in the land. And Abram went down into Mizraim to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. That's the same concept of when you seen that when we got into Egypt. There was a famine. And that's what caused us to go down. This is what's causing Abraham to go down. So we actually seeing a framework of something going to happen before it even happens. Hold on one second. Let me see something real fast. Just bear with me for a moment. Just for a moment. So when we look at the name Abram, we have exalted father. I thought that the short name means something else. When we look at Sarah, we have princess. So the exalted father and the princess goes down into Mizraim or into bondage. And we turn around and we look at that. You can see that same in Jeremiah 6:2. He said he likens YAHUAH to a comely, delicate woman. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind. As we journey down further, and we begin to see something else. It says, Abram journeyed going, that was before it was grievous in the land. Verse 11. It came to pass when he was come near to enter into Mizraim, that he said unto Sarai his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore, it shall come to pass when the Mizraim shall see thee, they shall say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, that thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. Let's look at something in Luke chapter 13. Go eat, Leah. Go eat. Luke chapter 13 and 31. Luke chapter 13 and 31. The same day there came certain of the Pharisees, saying unto them, Get thee out and depart from hence, for Herod will kill thee. He said unto them, Go ye and tell that fox, Behold, I cast out devils, and I do cures today, and tomorrow, and the third day, I shall be perfected. Nevertheless, I must walk today and tomorrow and the day following. For it cannot be that a prophet perish out of Jerusalem. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, which killed the prophets and stoned them that are sent unto thee. How often would I have gathered thy children together as a hen doth gather her brood under her wings, and ye would not? Behold, your house is left unto you desolate, and truly I say unto you, ye shall not see me until the time come when you shall say, Blessed is he that cometh in the name of YAHUAH. Now he just told them, you need to get from out of here, because Herod gonna kill thee. Same way where Abraham saying, if I come down in here, these people gonna kill me. Y'all know from previous instances, Mashiach never told these people who he was, because he knew that they would kill him for a while. Hold on a second. Let's come back to Genesis chapter 12 as we begin to work that and get some understanding on that. Remember, Mashiach told him, say, don't tell no man who I am. He knew once the people knew who he was, they were going to take him out. But let's look at something forth as he execute judgment. Because they say, get on from around here. He said, man, your house going to be less under you desolate because you stoned and killed the prophets. Let's look and see what he say to him, though. About verse 14. It came to pass that when Abram was coming to Mizraim, the Egyptians beheld the woman that she was fair. The princess also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he had treated Abraham well for her sake. And he had sheep and oxen and he asses and men servants and maid servants and she asses and camels. And YAHUAH plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because Sarah, Abram's wife. Well, let's turn back and let's look at some. Let's go back and let's sit and look at the law because of Sarah, Abram's wife, who had done took. Now, They sit back and look at, we giving you all this stuff, but they end up getting plagued. Let's go look at Exodus and let's see something about that. And then we'll tie that into Revelation and the same thing. But we'll look at something in Jeremiah chapter 50 to go along with that. Because what you're seeing is a judgment being executed. Matter of fact, before we even look at Exodus and those plagues, let's look at Joel chapter 3 and then Jeremiah chapter 50. Joel chapter 3 and verse 2. We'll make it verse 1. He said, behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Yehudah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, YAHUAH, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine, that they might drink. Yea, what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temple my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Yehudah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from my border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of the children of Yehudah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians and to a people far off, for you have spoken it. So let's look at something. He said, you've cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot. We know from looking at Ezekiel chapter 16 that YAHUAH is referred to as a harlot. He said, you've given a boy for a harlot, or basically a ransom. Let's look at something in Matthew chapter 20, because he say, you are washed, you are sanctified by the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. He said, you gave a boy for a harlot. Let's look at something in Matthew chapter 20. Now he talking about giving a recompense, the same way we looking at the Egyptians in Genesis chapter 12 are receiving a recompense or a judgment upon their head. Matthew chapter 20 and about verse 25 or 24. 20 and 24. And when the 10 heard it, they were moved with indignation against the two brethren. But Yahushua called them unto him, and said, ye know that the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them. They that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister. Whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister, and to give his life a ransom for many. Now you say you gave a boy for a harlot or a ransom. Say you gave up this boy for a whore. You sold him for a whore. You know what I'm saying? Now we turn around, we look at YAHUAH, like I said in Ezekiel 16, he said, you're contrary from all other harlots, and that you give your gifts to lovers, and nobody gives anything unto you. So you sitting back looking at a boy is being given for a harlot, being offered up. Mashiach was given up to offered up. He said you sold them for wine. Let me make sure I quote the man correctly in Joel now. He said you sold a boy. He said you cast lots for my people, giving a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Now it's something right here. Look at something that Paul stated in Romans chapter 7. Because we already know talking about cast lots for his people, because we already know to sit back and look at, they took all Mashiach's garments and they cast lots for it. And how we'll turn around and we'll look at that is something that we were looking at the other day, is that the parting of how Mashiach parted his body to the 12 apostles the same way that the priest and judges parted his wife's body, the concubine's body, and spread it throughout all the coasts. You know what I'm saying? So you're looking at that same thing. They cast lots for my people, or they divvied him up. What I just said. Where are we going? Oh, Romans chapter 7. 7 and 14. He said you sold a girl for wine that you might drink. Let's follow me on this. He said, for we know that the Torah is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold under sin. So now we sit back, he say, sold under sin. Now we turn around and we look at it. We know that go all the way, sit down there. We know that go all the way back to, is there something that you want? Are you finished? Leah, you finished? Well, go on then. So we know that with the disobedience of Adam, that's what sold us unto sin. Now he said you sold a girl for wine that you might drink. So let's turn back and let's begin to let our minds move and get some understanding. We know that Eve, look at 1 Timothy chapter 2. 1 Timothy chapter 2, right here at about verse 13. Let me say he sold a girl for wine that you might drink. Now we know the law say male and female created he them. And he called their name Adam. So when you're looking at selling a girl for wine that you might drink, let's see what Paul tells us in 1 Timothy 2 and 13 and see what we get. He say, for Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. So when Hashatan come and deceive Eve, he sold a girl for wine. We look at wine being representative of blood. Let's look at Leviticus 17 and 11 and see what the law say. Guess I'll be able to work that in anyway. 17 and 11, Leviticus. 17 and 11. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it upon the altar to make atonement for your souls. For it is the blood that make atonement for your soul, for the soul. Therefore I said unto you, son, unto the children of YAHUAH, no soul of you shall eat blood. Neither shall any stranger that sojourn among you eat blood. Whatsoever man there be of the children of YAHUAH, of the strangers that sojourn among you, which hunt and catch any beast or fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof and cover it with dust. Now sit back and look at what he said, right? If whatsoever man there be the children of YAHUAH, of the stranger that sojourn among you, and hunt and catch any beast or the fowl that may be eaten, he shall even pour out the blood thereof and cover it with dust. What do you hear when you, what comes to your mind when you hear that? Pour out the blood and cover it with dust? Because we're talking about putting this blood as a token that the judgment won't fall upon you. Now he just sat back and told you, take this blood, pour it out, and cover it up with dust. Well, all we got to do is go back and look in John when they hit him in his side and that blood came out and they took him in the grave and they covered it up with dust. Because you got to remember that he was a beast. Because you sit back and look at that, he was an ox led to the slaughter. You know what I'm saying? He was the lamb led to the slaughter. They took the man, they slayed him, poured out his blood, covered it up with dust. Now this is also going back to simple fact. He said you took a girl and sold her for wine that you might drink. Y'all gonna follow me in a second. Just hold on. For it is the life of the flesh, the blood of it is for the life. Therefore I said unto the children of YAHUAH, you shall eat the blood of no manner of flesh. For the life of all flesh is the blood thereof. Whosoever eat it shall be cut off. That's why you got brothers saying, when Mashiach saying John chapter 6, my blood is drink indeed and my flesh is meat indeed. The why they turn around and they say they don't keep the master's supper. They don't drink the wine and they don't eat the bread. Even though you sitting back seeing that Mashiach did that and commanded you to do that throughout all generations, and the law bear witness to it in numerous places. I was talking with a brother earlier. Lizzie, stop it. I was talking with a brother earlier. And I was telling him, like, when you look in the law, because I know me and Troy were talking about this other day. When you look in the law, in Deuteronomy 16, when you see Mashiach eating that bread, the law say that unleavened bread is the bread of affliction. You know what I'm saying? Before he sat down to eat that bread, he sat down and ate that bread. He also breaking that bread with his disciples, and they eating it, and they looking at, they gonna become partakers of that affliction. That's why he had them with that unleavened bread, because you were afflicted here. They didn't even have time for it to rise. But every time that you eat it is to remember the sufferings, and then also to sit back and look at it, afflicting your souls from the things that the flesh desires, which would be restraining yourself from transgression. You know what I'm saying? Denying yourself. Remembering the afflictions of your bondage, not just the bondage of your captives, but the bondage of your captive as it pertains to sin. So now when we sit back and we look at it, it's the blood that is for the life, and you pour the blood out and all these things. And we were like, well, what does this got to do with sold a girl for some wine that you might drink? Well, then we turn around and we look at it that Eve sold herself. You know what I'm saying? So now Mashiach's got to sell himself. But before I get to that, look at Job chapter 20. Job 20. What we look at, man? Job 20 and 12. It says, though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spared and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth, yet his meat and his bowels is turned. It is the gall of asps within him. He hath swallowed down riches. He shall vomit them up again, and Elohim shall cast them out of his belly. He shall suck the poison of asps, and the viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. When you sit back and you say he won't see the rivers, the floods, the honey, the butter, they're talking about he's not going to see the land. He's not going to inherit the kingdom. That which he labored for shall he restore. Listen to him. And shall not swallow it down according to his substance shall the restitution be. He shall not rejoice therein. Because he have oppressed and forsaken the poor, because he have violently taken away a house which he builded not. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And when he's about to fill his belly, Elohim shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of the steel shall strike him through. It is drawn and come out of the body, yea, the glistering sword come out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. All darkness shall be hid in secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. We'll lead us here because it done transition into two different things. But what you think this could mean right here, man, when he say he done his meat and his bowels is turned, gall meaning bitterness, of ass within him. He swallowed down riches, he'll vomit them up again, and Elohim will cast him out of his belly. Say, the viper's tongue shall slay him, and that which he labored for shall he restore, because he won't swallow it down, because he done forsaken and oppressed the poor. What you think that could mean? Especially considering we talking about they sold a girl for some wine that they might drink. Now remember, this talking about Gentiles too. They sold a girl for some wine that they might drink.
I'm all over this. First off, he said he when he went down. So when he went down.
Oh, I'll read it again for you. He said, yet his meat and his bowels is turned. It is the gall of ass within him. He has swallowed down riches. He shall vomit them up again.
Right now, when you say you swallowed down riches, I was thinking about that vinegar. But then you say you swallowed them up, I'm going to send you somewhere else. So I ain't.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. So.
I think about that vinegar, yeah. Then when you say you swallowed it back up, I was like, oh, man.
Then listen what he's saying in verse 18, though, because remember he said he shall not see rivers. And remember say the viper's tongue gonna slay him. Then he say that which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be. He shall not rejoice therein, because he have oppressed and forsaken the poor or the humble, because he have violently taken away a house which he builded not. So let's look at something, right? Let's look at Psalms 109, right? You just hold Job 20, hold Genesis 12, hold Joel 3. Just for reference points while we hold them. Look at Psalm 109. Say he got stung by a viper's tongue. Let's look at verse 1. You about to sit to the table for that, man. Sit to the table for that. Hold not thy peace, O Elohim of my praise, for the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of the deceitful are opened against me. They have spoken against me with a lying tongue. They compassed me about with words of hatred and fought against me without a cause. For my love, they are my adversaries, but I give myself unto prayer. And they rewarded me evil for good and hatred for my love. Set thou a wicked man over him, and let Satan stand at his right hand. And when he shall be judged, let him be condemned, and let his prayer become sin. Let his days be few, and let another take his office. So now he's talking about let Satan be at his right hand, right? So when we look at John chapter 13, John chapter 13, about verse 22. Then the disciples looked on one another, doubting of whom he will make it 21. When Yahushua had thus said, he was troubled in Ruach and testified and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. Then the disciples looked on one another, doubting of whom he spake. Now there was laying on Yahushua's bosom one of his disciples whom Yahushua loved. Simon Peter therefore beckoned to him that he should ask who it should be of whom he spake. He then lying on Yahushua's breast saith unto him, Master, who is it? Yahushua answered, it is to whom I shall give sop when I have dipped it. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Judas Iscariot, the son of Simon. And after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Yahushua, that thou do quickly. So now you turn around and you look at the aspect of, he said he got stung by a viper. You know what I'm saying? Which we know is a snake. And we know Satan is called that serpent. So now let's look at something in Matthew chapter 27. I got to use the app for that. About Matthew. Get Matthew 26 first, though. I need that first to set the stage. I still got to use the app for that. But what we looking at in Job, right? Because I want to reread what we just looked at in Job of what we talking about. This man say he swallowed down riches. He said his meat in his bowels is turned as the gall of asp within him. He swallowed down riches, he'll vomit them up, and Elohim shall cast him out of his belly. He shall suck the poison of asps, the viper's tongue shall slay him. That which he labored for shall he restore, and not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he won't rejoice in it. He won't feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save that of that which he desired. Then it also says that none of his meat be left. Therefore shall no man look for his goods. Let's read over here to Matthew 26 and 11 first, before we get to Matthew 27. 26 and 14. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests and said unto them, What will you give me? And I will deliver him unto you. And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. And from that time he saw opportunity to betray him. So now we're looking at these riches. We seeing what we're looking at in the 27th chapter of Matthew. What we're looking at in here is this is talking about Judas. Now let's look at Matthew 27 and 1. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Yahushua to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Now, of course, sitting back to what we're looking at, right? We dealing with somebody who wanted to take somebody's wife and judgments being executed upon him and a plague getting put upon him. You know what I'm saying? Because the exalted father went into bondage and they tried to take Sarah, his wife, or the princess, because they found her to be fair and they wanted him for themselves, and Elohim plagued their house for what they had done. We see in this same framework with Judas, and then we got to sit back and look at that. We're going to work that in about how they sold a girl for wine that they might drink. And when you sitting back looking at it, you see in Judas selling a girl, because Mashiach, male and female at the same time, for wine that they might drink. He said when they bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, because you already read that in Psalm 109, it said let him be condemned, repented himself, and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, What is that to us? See thou to that. And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed and went and hanged himself. And the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, It is not lawful for to put them in the treasury, because it is the price of blood. Now let's look in Acts chapter 1. So what we seeing in Job is he swallowed down riches. He vomited them right up again. He got 30 pieces of silver from the chief priests and scribes. He got them right back and he vomited them right up. He vomited them right up. Why? Because wickedness was sweet in his mouth. He hid it under his tongue, because Mashiach said, one of y'all gonna betray me. He said, yet the meat in his meat in his bowels is turned. It's the gall of ass within him. Well, verse 13, I skipped, my apologies. He said, though he spared and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth. He swallowed down them riches, but you see, he cast them up again, and Elohim gonna cast them out of his belly. He ain't gonna see the land, because he been condemned. He said, let his prayer be sin. He said, that which he labored for, he shall restore, and not swallow it down according to his substance, how the restitution be. As you sit back and see, that which he labored for them 30 pieces of silver, he tried to restore it. He said, because he have oppressed and forsaken the poor, because he violently taken away the house which he builded not. You sat back and seen he forsaken Mashiach and oppressed him. So this talking about Judas and the betrayal of Judas. Surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save that which he desired, that none of his meat be left. Therefore shall nobody look for his goods. Let's see if his meat be left in Acts chapter 1. Let's see if he vomited up out of his belly. Acts 1 and 16. That's Acts chapter 16. Make it 15. Acts 1 and 15. And in those days, Peter stood up in the midst of the disciples and said the number of the names together were about 120. Men and brethren, this scripture must needs have been fulfilled, which the Ruach HaKodesh by the mouth of Daud spake before concerning YAHUAH, which was God to them that took Yahushua. For he was numbered with us and had obtained part of this ministry. Now this man purchased a field with the reward of iniquity, falling headlong, and he burst asunder in the midst, and all his bowels gushed out. And it was known unto all the dwellers in Jerusalem, insomuch as that field is called in the proper tongue Al-Kadama, that is to say, the field of blood. Do you not see this man, his bowels being turned? Do you not see him vomit them up again and Elohim cast them out of his belly? Do you not sit back and see that he had no quietness in his belly? Because he made his bowels gushed out. The man had already told you. See, I didn't read that last verse in Job 20, but in verse 29, he said this is the portion. Well, make it 28. Look at 28. Matter of fact, just read 27. Look at Job 20 and 27. It says, the Shamahim shall reveal his iniquity, and the Arat shall rise up against him. The increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath. This is the portion of the wicked man from Elohim, and the heritage appointed unto him by Elohim. So you sit back and look at the judgment of Judas was already written. Why? Because he sold a girl for wine. That's what he did. He sold a girl for wine. He sold a girl for wine. He sold a girl for wine for 30 pieces of silver that they might drink. And what is that drink? He say, take, drink. This is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. Let's look at Hebrews chapter 9. Hebrews 9 and 14. Hebrews 9 and 11. But Mashiach being come a high priest of good things to come by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building, neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered into once into the Kadesh place, having obtained eternal redemption for us. For if the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of a heifer sprinkling the unclean sanctify the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Mashiach, who through the eternal Ruach offered himself without spot to Elohim, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living Elohim? That's what you sit back and look at. It was the blood of that lamb symbolizing to purge us from dead works to get us up out of Mizraim, which was the last judgment. See that blood, you sit back and you look at something right in Revelation 1 and 7, he say, every eye shall see him, even they that pierced him, and they shall wail even because of him. So be it, or Amen. They sit back and look at it the same way they shed this man blood. He said that blood being shed has got to execute judgment, has to be executed upon these people, and plagues got to be placed upon these people. We started this looking at Genesis chapter 12 about these plagues, and we're going to work that back into this 2 Samuel chapter 15 when you're sitting back and you're looking at controversy and you're looking at judgment. You know what I'm saying? Because Mashiach is the one to judge the quick and the dead. He's the one who Elohim gave the power to judge. You know what I'm saying? And to weigh matters out. But nevertheless, let's rock it over here to verse 21 of this same 9th chapter. We had to sit back and look at it the same way the blood of that lamb was supposed to purge us, our conscience from dead work. Because we supposed to forgot what we did in Mizraim when we were coming up out of there. See, when that blood, sit back and look at it, when they came up out of there, like we were talking about last night, all the people could sit back was look at their youthful lusts. All they could look at is the things that they were lusting for in Mizraim, the things that they had before the blood was shed to wash them and sanctify them, that they would no longer be in bondage. They could not forget those things. They were still stuck upon those things. So when you sit back and you look at it, that's what the blood of that lamb on Passover was supposed to be doing, was purging their conscience from dead works, that they would no longer remember the things in Mizraim, that all the things on the other side of the flood, they would forget. Why do we see that? Because we see the blood of the lamb being shed in Exodus chapter 12. Then you see in Exodus chapter 14, they go through the flood to be immersed. That's why they sit back. That's why he lines up with Romans chapter 6. There will be no more conscience or remembrance of sins, because he that died to sin is dead to sin indeed. And he have crucified or mortified his mortal body with YAHUAH HaMashiach, that he should henceforth no longer serve sin. They were supposed to sit back and look at coming up out of Mizraim, that they would no longer henceforth serve the Egyptians. But instead they wanted to go back to Mizraim to serve the Egyptians, because they wanted to go back to serve in sin. This gives us a similitude of behavior to not make that same mistake. If this man's blood done been shed to wash you from your iniquity and sanctify you, and then you pass through the flood to be washed of your iniquities and to be made into the likeness of his death and raised into the likeness of his resurrection, to have your conscience purged from dead works, how could you go backwards? That doesn't make any sense. See, we were talking with a brother, man. This a brother was dealing with a dude, man. You know, the brothers went to the land and they killed the lamb. You know what I'm saying? They had a picture of themselves with a lamb that they were killing, that they were going to cook for Passover. You know what I'm saying? Now, we knowing that there's no need for us to kill a lamb, because we actually know these ordinances that pertains to that first Passover that he gave, and that he told our ancestors to do. We know what they mean. We know what they point to. We know what they're referring to. And it gives us an understanding of what's supposed to be done. We understand that this blood is symbolizing this wine. You know what I'm saying? Because we were sold into slavery, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Sold into bondage. Plagues were placed upon these people because of the bondage. We're turning around looking at that same thing, that this is going to happen again. But then we see, like I said, they sold a girl for wine that they might drink. So it was good that they sold the girl for wine that we might drink, because being we can be a partaker of this new covenant, because he said covenant is no effect while the testator live. The testator must die. So if they don't sell him for wine, then you can't drink. Then if you can't drink, you can't be delivered, because your sins can't be purged. So then we turn around and we look at coming up out of Mizraim was supposed to, that Passover lamb in Exodus 12 was supposed to purge your conscience from dead works, that you would no longer serve dead works. You would no longer serve the Egyptians. You leaving there. You about to be set free. We're not even sitting back looking at the blood of that Passover lamb was setting us free to go into the land that we could serve our Elohim and no longer be in bondage. The same way Mashiach coming, he shed his blood, and we looking at this is so we can be free from sin and serve our Elohim. So this is how we supposed to start looking at this stuff, the framework of this story, and implement it into your heart and into your mind and into your ruach, into your nephesh, and move in that fashion and manner. That way you would no longer serve dead works. You would no longer be a slave to the flesh. You would no longer do the things that's pleasing to the flesh. You would not regress. You would not be dealing with youthful lust. You would abstain from youthful lust, and you would stand firm on the word to be conformed to the image of the living Son of the Elohim and be saved. 9 and 21 though. He say, moreover, he sprinkled with blood both the tabernacle and all the vessels of the ministry. And without almost all things are by the Torah purged with blood. For without the shedding of blood is no remission. So they had to sell this girl for wine. That's why they say they sold a boy. They cast lots and gave a boy for a harlot. Mashiach was the boy. He's got to be given up for the whore. You know what I'm saying? He's got to die for this whore. It has to happen. If he don't do it, we scarred. Because we know the word stay clear as day. He played the harlot. You know what I'm saying? Played the harlot. Sold a girl for wine. He male and female at the same time. We know that from the hitting on the side. This for us, this is common knowledge and regular information. So then when we see them selling the girl for wine, we sitting back looking at, we see Judas selling this man out for 30 pieces of silver that everybody else might drink and be a partaker of the covenant. See, come over here and look in Romans chapter 11. Romans 11 and about 11. Romans 11 and 11. And we'll get back to Joel 3, finish that out. Still got, we good in Job 20. Still got Genesis 12 on deck. Most High will and carry work right around here to this 2 Samuel 15. So we can get that out the way and don't hold that for another day. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? Elohim forbid. But rather, though their fall, salvation is coming to the Gentile to provoke them to jealousy. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am apostle of the Gentile, I magnify mine office. If by any means I might provoke to emulation them which are my flesh, and might save some of them. For if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be but life from the dead? For if the first fruit be Kadesh, and the lump is also Kadesh, and if the root be Kadesh, so are the branches. If some of the branches are broken off, and thou, being a wild olive tree, were grafted in amongst them, and with them partake of the root and the fatness of the olive tree, boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bear not the root, but the root thee. Thou wilt say then, the branches were broken off, that I might be grafted in. Well, because of unbelief they were broken off. And thou stand by faith. Be not high-minded, but fear. For if Elohim spare not the natural branches, take heed lest he also spare not thee. Now, of course, this is happening because they got to sell the girl for wine because they didn't believe. They didn't believe Mashiach was the son of the living Elohim. See, come back over here and look at Matthew 27, right? And it's something that key thing that Paul just told these people. He said, y'all better sit back and realize you better not be boasting against the natural branches because they got broke off for our unbelief. You stand by faith. He said just like he broke them all, he can break you off. Because I see this all the time. Boy, you got Gentile, they be getting real greasy. You can't get real greasy with us. Y'all got grafted in with us. We ain't get grafted in with you. I just had to talk with somebody about that last night. He was like, man, you don't know if you're a Hamite. I'm like, man, I'm not finna go through all that with you. But one thing for certain, and two things for sure. I'm not finna apologize for knowing who I am and stating it. You're not finna make me feel bad about it either. You know what I'm saying? Matthew 27 and about 40. And now one of y'all should feel bad about knowing who you are. You shouldn't have to apologize for that. You don't see other people apologizing for stating for knowing who they are. Why should you? Just because other dudes walk around here and beat people across the head about I'm Yasharala, I'm Israel, I'm Yasharala, all that type of stuff, and then that make you feel bad or how they carry and conduct themselves. I ain't got nothing to do with how they carry and conduct themselves. But the one thing for certain that I do know that I'm not going to apologize for knowing who I am. Matthew 27 and 39. I'm not going to apologize for it at all. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads, and saying, thou that destroyed the temple and build it in 3 days, save thyself. If thou be the son of Elohim, come down from the stake. Likewise also the chief priests, mocking him with the scribes and elders, said, he saved others, he cannot save himself. If he be the king of Yasharal, let him come down from the stake, and we will believe him. See, that's why we got broke off. That's why we had to get all head cropped off. He already had told you in the law in Deuteronomy 32 that this is children of whom have no faith. You know what I'm saying? See, these people ain't got no faith. Still ain't got it right now to this day. Just utterly and outwardly refuse to believe. Still going on to this day. Still a major problem. Let's come on back to Joel chapter 3. Where we at? About verse 4. He said, yea, what have I to do with thee, with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all coasts of Palestine, while I render you a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because you have taken my silver and my gold and carried into your temple my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Yehuda and Jerusalem you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Same way they turned around and they sold this man to the Romans, that they might remove him far from the land. These people knew what they were doing. He said, I will raise them out of their place whether you sold them, and return your recompense upon your own head. Well, what did they sell Mashiach but to the grave? And he said, I'm going to return that payment back to your own head. This man going to come back and he's going to render judgment. Let's come back and finish Genesis chapter 12. We stopped at about verse 17. He said, Yahuwah plagued Pharaoh in his house with great plagues because of Sarah, Abram's wife. Pharaoh called Abram and said, what is this thou hast done to me? Why did thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why said thou, she is my sister, so I might have taken her to me to wife? Now therefore, behold thy wife, take her and go thy way. Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away and his wife and all that he had. Now he got plagued because of this man's wife. Let's look at Jeremiah chapter 50. They sat back and said, he said, man, these people say, why you ain't tell me that was your wife, man? He said, I wouldn't have took her. Jeremiah chapter 50. Where's it? 51. Jeremiah chapter 50 and about verse 31. Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith Yahuwah Elohim of hosts. For thy day is come that I will visit thee. And the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him. Thus saith Yahuwah of hosts, the children of Yasharal and the children of Yehudah were oppressed together. And all that took them captives held them fast, and they refused to let them go. Let's come back and look at Exodus chapter 6, going right back to the law. He said they refused to let him go. Now, when the plagues, Pharaoh in Egypt in Genesis chapter 12 wasn't finna let Sarah go. But when the plagues came, he decided to go ahead and let her go. So let's look at something in Exodus chapter 6. Make it Exodus 5 and 1. And afterwards Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, let my people go that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, who is Yahuwah that I should obey his voice to let Yasharal go? I know not Yahuwah, neither would I let Yasharal go. Same thing. Same thing. They didn't want to let him go. And then there were plagues. Now we're not going to go look at every plague. I got something with the plagues all on it. So I'm going to just take it off of there and do it like that. Now he turned around and hit them with the plagues of blood, frogs, gnats. Say the dust turned to gnats, covered the people and the animals. Still didn't want to let them go. The frogs covered the whole land, turned the water into blood. The flies came in all the houses. The livestock died. Boils over everybody. Hail that struck down everything in the field, humans, animals, and trees. Locusts ate every tree and plant. Darkness covered the land, and in the last judgment was he killed all the children. Killed all the firstborn. Because they refused to let Yasharal go. They utterly refused because judgment was in their hand. They utterly refused to do it. So he had to release plagues on them. So let's look in Revelation chapter 9 and let's see if we don't see that same framework. Because when we look at our people again, we still in bondage, held captive to these people. They don't want to let us go. We won't read every plague. We'll look at some of them though. He said, the fifth Malachim, verse 1, the fifth Malachim sounded, and I saw a star fall from Shamahim unto the Arats. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose smoke out of the pit. And as the smoke of a great furnace, the sun and the air was darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. Same way sit back and you seen in Egypt, they were darkened by, the whole land was darkened. There came a smoke out of the smoke locusts upon their rats, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of their rats have power. And it was commanded them they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of Elohim in their foreheads. Now see, that goes back to what we were talking about the other day. When he say in Genesis chapter 1, when he say on that third day, he called the grass to grow and that tree to grow. He just sat back and said right here in this fifth verse, that fourth verse, that he was commanded they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree. Neither any tree. We go back and we look in Genesis 1. You ain't got to go get it. We look in Genesis 1. We see the framework of it right here in the law. He said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit yielding fruit after his kind. We see that they're given a commandment just like it was given when the locusts were brought forth in Mizraim, to not hurt any of his people. When you look at it, he telling you not to hurt the grass and not to hurt the trees. This is going back to Genesis of the grass that came up out of the earth and the fruit yielding tree, which seed was in itself, whose fruit was after his own kind. This is talking about do not hurt any of the sons of Elohim. When he plague come, just like the plague came in Mizraim, don't hurt none of the children of Yasharal. He said, I got to make a difference between the Egyptians and Yasharal. I got to make a difference between the Kadeshim and a sinner. It's got to be a difference between the two. It's got to be a sanctification. I got to render judgment on these people. I've got to render judgment on these people. You know what I'm saying? Because of these plagues, because they've taken my wife, they've refused to let her go. They've held her fast. I mean, hold on, Lizzie. I know you just ain't do that. Boy. He know to sit back and look at, he got to render judgment to these people. They not letting it go. Why they not letting it go? Because they doing these two key things. What we looked at in Joel. They gave a boy for a harlot. So they sold Mashiach. They cast lots for Mashiach for a harlot, or for Yasharal, or for a whore. So that judgment got to fall on their head. They sold a girl for wine, so they might drink. They sold Mashiach for money, so they might be a partaker of the cup of the blood of the covenant, which is actually, when you look at it, for those who repent, it's a positive thing. For those who don't, it's a negative thing. You know what I'm saying? The judgment and the plague is going to fall on them. Let's look at the next set of plagues we're looking at in this Revelation 9. Look at about verse 13. And the sixth Malachim sounded, I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before Elohim, saying to the sixth Malachim, which had the trumpet, loose the four Malachims, which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the four Malachim were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. Now, when you sit back and you look at, they were given a space to slay men. The same way we look at, they were given space to slay the firstborn. And this also goes into what we've been talking about when it comes down to counting time. Because we see it said it's given for a month, an hour, a day, a month, and a year. So when we sit back and we look at that, a month, we know that a month is 30 days and a year is 360 days, according to Genesis, according to Daniel, and according to Revelation, with the 42 months, 1,260 days. You know what I'm saying? So when we turn around and look at that again, because I was talking to a brother about this a little while ago, again, we see a concept of a 30-day month repeatedly. He said the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and jackif and brimstone, and the heads of the horses was as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire, smoke, and brimstone. By these three were the third part of men killed by fire, and by smoke, and by brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. For the power is in their mouth, and in their tails. For the tails were like unto serpents, and heads with them they do hurt. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils, the idols of gold and silver, brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornications, nor of their thefts. So we turn around and sit back the same way that Mizraim. See, now the difference is, when we look in Genesis chapter 12, is that Pharaoh repented when them plagues hit. Elohim spared him. He said, y'all got to get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Now we turn around and look at the second time in Exodus, when Pharaoh got hit with them plagues, he didn't repent. And even still, when he let him go, he didn't repent, and he ended up being slaughtered, because judgment's got to be executed. Now let's look at Revelation 17, and let's see if these silly people follow the same pattern. And it's only for one reason and one reason alone, because they don't want to let the children of Yasharal go. They say she's fair to look upon. I want to take her for my own wife. Kira, I'm going to still get 2 Samuel 15. (17 and 10). Elizabeth, chill out. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he come, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and go into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou saw are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is master of masters, Malek of Maleks, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, thy waters which thou saw where the whore sit, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou saw upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and they shall make her desolate, naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For Elohim hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Elohim shall be fulfilled. So now we turning around and we sitting back and looking at it. That these people are going to gather up the war. The same way Pharaoh gathered up the war against us, and Elohim turned that into victory on our behalf. Because we already know from Revelation 19 that all these people going to gather up to make war with the Lamb, and all these kings and all their horses and all their soldiers are going to be murdered. Let's look at 2 Samuel chapter 15. And all this is talking about is just a rendering of judgment. There's going to be a judgment. Just like we read yesterday, Elohim will bring every work into judgment. 2 Samuel 15:1. And it came to pass after this that Absalom prepared him chariots and horses and 50 men to run before him. Absalom rose up early and stood beside the way of the gate. And it was so that when any man had a controversy, came to the king for judgment, that Absalom called unto him and said, of what city art thou? And he said, thy servant is one of the tribes of YAHUAH. Absalom said unto him, see, thy matters are good and right, but there is no man depute of the king to hear thee. Absalom said, moreover, oh, that I were made judge in the land, and that every man which had any suit or cause might come unto me, and I would do him justice. And it was so that when any man came nigh to him to do obeisance, he put forth his hand and took him and kissed him. And on this manner did Absalom to all YAHUAH that came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole the hearts of the men of YAHUAH. Now, Kira, just for you to understand what you say, that you didn't understand the dynamic of what was going on with them. What was going on with Absalom in the situation with David is Absalom is David's son. Absalom had a desire to be king. So Absalom, through the means of seduction upon the people, you know what I'm saying, did this to be able to become king. He was trying to usurp the throne. He was trying to usurp the throne. So we'll deal with Absalom, most high willing, more and more as time go by. Let's look at something, right? In John chapter 5 and whole 2 Samuel 15. John about 5 and maybe 20. For the Father loved the Son and showed him all things that himself do. And he will show him greater works than these, that ye may marvel. For as the Father raised up the dead and quickened them, even so the Son quickened whom he will. The Father judged no man, but have committed all judgment unto the Son, that all men should honor the Son, even as they honor the Father. He that honor not the Son, honor not the Father, which hath sent him. Drop down to verse 26. 25 is, but I just read it on down. Truly, truly, I say unto you, he that hear any word, hear my word, and believe on him that sent me, have everlasting life, and shall not come into the condemnation, but is passed from death unto life. Truly, truly, I say unto you, the hour is coming, and now is, when the dead shall hear the voice of the Son of Elohim, and they that hear shall live. For as the Father have life in himself, so have he given to the Son to have life in himself, and have given him authority to execute judgment, because he is the Son of Man. Now, the thing that we just looked at in 2 Samuel 15, right? The thing that Absalom stated was this. He stated that Nobody, that there is no man deputy of the king to hear thee. Meaning the king hadn't set anybody up to hear and to judge any matters. And he said, oh, that I were made judge in the land, that every man which have any suit or cause might come unto me, and I would do him justice. Now, Absalom means shalom or peace. You know what I'm saying? Let me pull the whole complete meaning of the man name. Even you could even see something in 2 Samuel 18. We done dealt with it in the past, and maybe we'll go back over it again just to bring it to remembrance, and for those who may have never heard it. About Absalom's gate, because Absalom gets hung from a tree as well. But it means my father is shalom. That's what Absalom names means. So we know that the Most High is the Elohim of shalom. This is Yahushah's father. And the he who's my father is shalom is asking that, oh, would it have made that I was given power to execute judgment, that if anybody had any matter, they could bring it unto me. This is why Mashiach come up and say, come unto me, all ye that labor, and I will give you rest. Come unto me, and I can give you the judgment that you seek. See, look at something in Hebrews 7. That's why he say, that's why these dudes don't even sit back and look at it. You got to have an intercessor, and you got to have somebody to judge. You got somebody who want to handle these matters. See, when you sit back and you look at it, the people didn't go to Yahuwah when they had any suit or cause. They went to Moses. And Moses went to Yahuwah as forth as it pertains to any matters to render judgment. And now you see, you got him who my name, my father is Shalom, is asking the same thing that, oh, if any man would come unto me who had a controversy, suit or cause, and I would do him justice. I would do him justice. Hold on one second. Oh, wrong one. While we swing over here to Hebrews 7 and 22. It is 7:26. Matter of fact, don't make it Hebrews 7. So I'm trying to say, because that's not what I want. Give me a second. Let me look at something when it comes to this word justice. When we look at the word justice, we see sadak, to be just, to be righteous, to have a just cause, to be in the right, to be justified, to be just of Elohim. So he's saying that, oh, if anybody would come unto me, and I would be able to make them just. Now that should sit back and look at something that he just says, my father's name is Shalom, is asking that he could be set up, that if anybody came to them, that he could make them just. Let me see, this is what I want, man. Let's come over to Hebrews 7, man, while I'm still thinking that. It's ringing in my head what it says, but that's not in Hebrews chapter 7. What is ringing up in my head. Let me find what's ringing in my head. There's something that's in my head. I can hear the verse in my head. It was in Hebrews 7. Hebrews 7 and 24 though. He said, but this man, because he continue ever, have an unchangeable priesthood. Wherefore he is able also to save them to the uttermost that come unto Elohim by him, seeing that he ever lived to make intercession for them. Now you look at that, he say the king hasn't set anybody up for the people to come unto, to render judgment unto. And my father is Shalom is saying, oh, that I were made for this cause, to do men justice, to make them just in any situation. See, look at something in 1 Peter 3 and 18. Because, you know, people love to scream, there's no man on the earth that's good, no, not one. Well, Mashiach came to make us good, to take the unjust and make them just, because of how he was offered. Get you Romans 3 and 1. Go along with this. Again, another example of rendering judgment. 1 Peter 3 and 18. You say, for Mashiach also have once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to Elohim, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Ruach. So you sit back and look at it. Just given for the unjust. Now we can be able, because we were once unjust, we can come to the uttermost, to come to Elohim by him to be made just. He said, no man can come to the Father but by me. So nobody couldn't get to David but by Absalom. This is what he was asking for. Let me do justice for him. Let me judge the matters. Let them come unto me so I can come unto the Father. Because my Father is Shalom. Romans 3:1. He said, what advantage have the Yahudim, or what profit is there of circumcision? Much every way, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of Elohim. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of Elohim without effect? Elohim forbid. Yea, let Elohim be true, but every man a liar. As it is written, thou might be justified in thy sayings, and might overcome when thou art judged. That's the thing. You sit back and you look at Mashiach, say he done given all power to execute judgment by the Father. Because my Father is Shalom. Just like he got life in him, where the life of Elohim is Shalom, it's peace. Where eternal life is. Skip Romans chapter 8 so you could just stamp that. Romans 8 and 5. And we come right back to Romans 3. He say, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, and they that are after the Ruach, the things of the Ruach. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and shalom. Because the carnal mind is enmity against Elohim, for it is not subject to the law of Elohim, neither indeed can be. Now I'm going to sit back and tell you, right? I want you to look at something in Galatians chapter 5. Just while I'm thinking back, I can speak from different personal experience, just what I've been dealing with lately. Galatians 5 and 16. Now, I don't want y'all to get this twisted or misunderstood. Even where the Ruach dwells, there's still going to be a battle of the flesh and the Ruach. Remember what Mashiach said, the Ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak. You seen this man had the Ruach in him, and he was sitting there looking at, he was exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death, and was asking for not to die. You know what I'm saying? Just because the Ruach is present don't mean that the battle of the flesh. Why Paul say, he said, I keep my body under subjection, lest I preach unto others and I become a castaway. Because that's why he say, take up your stake daily and follow me, because it'll always be a constant battle. And sometimes you could get weak in the flesh, and it might lead you to think or almost to do the things that you would not do. The thing that will restrain you or stop you is the Ruach. If you continue to go and do those things anyway, that show that you carnally minded and that you're enmity against the law of Elohim, or you have a hatred for it because you couldn't be subject to it with that carnal mind. A carnal mind is going to go into sin and commit sin and have no problem with it. Or a spiritual mind is going to look at it, even if I'm enticed, even if I'm weak in the flesh, I will not commit that act. Ephesians 5 and 16. This I say then, walk in the Ruach, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Ruach, and the Ruach against the flesh. So these things are contrary the one to the other, so that you cannot do the things that you would. But if you be led of the Ruach, you are not under the law. Verse 25, 24. And they that are Mashiachs have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Ruach, let us also walk in the Ruach. Now he sit back and look at it. The flesh and the Ruach, they lusting against each other. They battling, they button. So they'll cause you to do the things that you ought not to do. This me knowing, because of what I was dealing with being down and depressed, there was a battle between the flesh and the Ruach. Now I ain't gonna do nothing, but then there were thoughts where you came close to certain things that you wouldn't necessarily do. The reason why I didn't do them, because those affections and lusts have been crucified, even though they were being expressed verbally. You know what I'm saying? I could have been expressing verbally what my flesh is feeling or what my emotions is, what I'm thinking, but I'm not going to act on them. And then you can even come close enough where you would act on them, but Elohim will restrain. You know what I'm saying? If you don't sit back and restrain yourself a minute, because I'm going to sit back and tell you, man, regardless of what you think, it's like the man told you, the flesh is weak. You know what I'm saying? And if you sit back, see, I want you to look at something, right? I say Todah Rabbah for YAHUAH for this here. Look at something in Luke chapter 22. I gotta pull it up on the app. Just something that Mashiach said to Peter, about Peter. Luke 22. Let me back that up because I went a little too far. Let me find it. That is not where it is at. Look at Luke 21 then. I know it's 22 though. I don't know what I'm talking about. Luke 22 and 31. I know it was 22. I know I was tripping. Luke 22 and 31. And the master said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan hath desired to have you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not. And when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. Because you can sit back and you can look at Mashiach already knowing it's certain people. You look at Peter, right? He said, it's upon this rock, I'm going to build my house. So the adversary, knowing what Peter's role is and what he's supposed to be, he's seeking to have this man to destroy him. Mashiach saying, come unto me, I do justice unto you. Come unto the uttermost by you, I can do you justice. I can make you just. He said, I pray for thee that your faith don't fail. He said, when you convert it, make your brethren strong. So you can sit back and you can look at the same way we look at the situation that Job went through. Hashatan already knew Job was a soldier. You know what I'm saying? But he desired to have him, to sift him as wheat. You know what I'm saying? You ain't even sitting back looking at, where do you think the framework of this, what he making this statement about Peter, where that come from with Job? Because we go read Job, Satan desired to have Job and sift him as wheat that his faith failed. That's what you look at in Job. He say, what about my servant Job? He say, let me have, I bet he cursed thee to thy faith. He was hoping Job's faith was going to fail because that's who he desired to have. He not sitting back knowing that the Most High had already prayed for Job. He said, when he converted, strengthen your brethren. You don't even sit back and look at the end of it. Job makes sacrifices and offerings for his brethren, his friends who was there, because they hadn't spoken the thing that was right before Elohim. You know what I'm saying? It's always a framework of everything that Mashiach said. He say Satan desired to have you. Satan desired to have Job and to sift him. He said, I pray that you not at any instant did Job's faith fail. At no instance did Peter's faith fail. Even though he denied Mashiach, because Peter ain't knowing this written. You got to fulfill that. See, don't never sit back and think it wouldn't matter who you were, man. It just be some people, man. Satan desire to have you. The Most High might let Satan have free reign at you. You know what I'm talking about? Only because he know your faith not going to fail, because he going to strengthen you. And even when you're going through whatever you're going through, it can seem so grievous and so horrible that you just ready for it to end. And when we talking about ready for it to end, not the affliction, but your existence. Come on back to Romans chapter 3. So when we look at this man say, thou might be justified in thy sayings in verse 4 and might overcome when thou art judged. Because we sit back and look at the hearers of the law, they justified. Not the hearers of the law, but the doers of the law. My apologies. We know the hearers of the law are those who believe. Because we know the justification come by faith. So when you come by YAHUAH HaMashiach, by the righteous obedience of faith, because the just shall live by their faith, then you see how this man come to justify you, to make you just, because you come to the uttermost by him. Galatians chapter 3, since I mentioned that the just gonna live by their faith. And then John 5:39. Galatians chapter 3 by verse 6. He said, even as Abraham believed Elohim, and it was accounted to him for righteousness, know ye therefore that they which... I have no idea what that says because that thing is gone. Which are the same as the children, believe are the same as the children of Abraham. And the scripture foreseeing that Elohim would justify the heathen through faith, preached before the gospel unto Abraham, saying, in thee shall all the nations be blessed. So they that which be of the faith are blessed with faithful Abraham. For as many as are the works of the Torah are under the curse. For it is written, cursed is everyone that continue not in all things which are written in the book of the Torah to do them. But that no man is justified by the Torah in the sight of Elohim, it is evident that the just shall live by faith. So it's evident that coming unto him who my father is shalom, with any controversy, that he is willing to come under the uttermost to save all those who come to him, to Elohim, that he could sit back and he could do you justice, that he could make you just, he can make you right with Elohim. But you got to let him. John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me, and you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. Hallelujah for YAHUAH.